Hello there, you're watching and listening to another Scoutcast on www.fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, and my name is Mark.
And my name's Jonty.
And my name's Andy.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's been a while. The FA Cup break this time. The game week 26 is a distant memory, but we're going to do our best to recall it, aren't we? How do I find you after the break, Jonty?
Yeah, good. I had a fairly decent week, and almost during the last game week, almost was on the cusp of the top 100,000 for the first time this season.
I know. 3 green arrows, isn't it?
Yeah, all of us got green arrows, and we all did well. And for those regular readers of the website, there's a particular community writer, Cavalli, who has been analysing veterans like ourselves, and it was a week where I rolled out the picture of the smiley Chelsea pensioners this week with that one, because we all got the veterans did better than the top 10,000 managers. So
is that how you're doing it? You've got two images, then you've got like a grim-looking Chelsea pensioner and a smiley one,
and a happy one. Yeah,
I hadn't spotted that. I probably haven't spotted that because the smiley one's been seen so infrequently, I imagine. But
it is true. But it was nice to roll out the smiley pensioners.
Andy, another green arrow for you at last as well. 47 points, wasn't it?
Yeah, not the biggest score, but yeah, it resulted in a green arrow, and I'm almost on the cusp of top 650,000 now.
Yeah,
so things are going well.
Well, we're going to look at our game weeks briefly. We'll hark back to game week 26, which seems a long time ago now. It's strange how a week makes such a difference. The FA Cup rudely interrupting us, but we're back for another Scoutcast. So we'll look at game week 26, but mainly we're going to talk about game week 30 because that is dominating everybody's mindset at the moment. We've got the postponements. They finally came in yesterday. We kind of knew about them at the weekend after the FA Cup games, but now they were confirmed. Ticker updated. We've looked at frisking, and we're starting to look at the damage that's been dealt as a result of the postponements. Tonight we're going to look at those options, looking in particular at Stoke and Spurs. I believe we already know all about Leicester. We're going to talk about Stoke and Spurs. There's talk of getting rid of Aguero even, and a certain member of this Scoutcast team is actually seriously considering it. Normally a dullard, but that would be a maverick move. We're going to talk about that, and I'm sure Andy and I are going to try and talk him out of it. Why am I in the Aguero camp now? What a turnaround. And then we're going to talk about double game weeks. I believe there's a certain hot topic on this already that's gone up this week that is going to be the catalyst for discussion in this Scoutcast, isn't there, Jonty?
Yes, indeed, yeah, from one of our regulars, Borders, and we'll come to that later. I've tried to condense it into a few sentences, but it's quite complex.
There's a lot to consider already. I mean, it might be crazy to even plan for the double game week so far, and I'm still trying to get my head around what to do for game week 30. But we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about early plans maybe for double game weeks because there's so much to consider. So a lot to get through. Let's look at game week 26 first. We haven't got a rough with a smooth, but what we have got is our own game week to look back on. And Jonty, cream of the crop, 53 points. You've got to be pleased with that, haven't you?
Yeah, I was. I mean, considering another captain failed, story of my season, Lukaku this time, his turn to not do anything. But what's been paying off has been a little bit of forward planning, actually. I've been starting to invest a little bit in Leicester and Southampton players because I knew they were definitely going to be playing not only in game week 27 but game week 30. And so my kind of key man really was Van Dijk.
Yeah, I knew it. We spoke about this last week. I covet him. I really do. I think he's a very useful player to have because he's got that goal threat. Southampton's defensive record at the moment is pretty much sublime. I mean, on the plus side for me, Matt Targett back in the team, and it looks like I might still have a bargain on my hands there. But I do look at Van Dijk and think, yeah, he's such a strong option. But Chelsea at home this weekend, I don't know if this is the right time to double up. I'm looking at it. But 9 points got you the bonus because he's a CBI monster, isn't he, Van Dijk back there?
Yeah, Van Dijk and Jose Font as well. I mean, both of them, they kind of share the bonus. 1 week, one will get them, one or the other. But I mean, they're one of those teams. It's the centre backs. It's all about them. Daniels as well also did well. I know Andy will probably mention him in his roundup of the game week. But Daniels, and no clean sheet, but he's still bringing in the points.
Got the assist, didn't he?
Got the assist, and also, yes, he missed a penalty in the FA Cup, but Eddie Howe was pretty strident in saying, defending him, and Daniels is staying on penalties. So that's good news for us Daniels owners. And it's pretty pretty satisfying week, really. Nothing great, but satisfying.
So all three of us had Payet. Andy, do you think that was behind the green arrow? It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Payet was the only one who really scored apart from my defence, so one of those two. It was quite funny, actually, because I was, about 10 minutes before he scored, I started looking at options of what I could do with him to get rid.
What?
So, yeah, well, he hadn't been performing and he wasn't scoring in that game, and it was a bit of a knee-jerk, I know, but yeah. Now he's got a place in my team for next week, definitely.
Yeah, a lot of people were talking about Antonio being the a cheap alternative to Payet because Antonio had the form. Payet maybe gone off the ball a bit, but I mean, the numbers look good at the moment, and there's just too much class there, isn't there? That's the trouble. He's just always likely to pull off something spectacular, and his performance at Blackburn was just bordering on ridiculous, wasn't it? I mean, the free kick and then that final goal was just absolutely fantastic. Payet goes into great form, and he's a lot of people are looking at him for the armband ahead of the Sunderland game this weekend. He's doing pretty well in the captain poll, isn't he, Jonty?
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. I mean, obviously Jamie Vardy's the main attraction there, but Payet's there. And I noticed when I keyed in my team into the Rate My Team tool, it's telling me to captain Payet, and the last 2 weeks it's told me to captain my highest scoring player, and I've completely ignored it. So I don't know. Yeah. Good option.
It is tempting to look at Payet there, but going back to the veterans article, what can you confirm that Payet was the factor that helped the veterans outscore the top 10k?
Yeah, it was. It was definitely that we got him, but it was also the defence as well. So I mean, veterans are much more likely to have a Southampton defender in. We're much more likely to have, say, Daniels in as well. And also, I mean, it all depends. There's certain players that the veterans, us lot, don't have, but are very popular overall and in the top 10,000 managers. So you're looking at Igalu and Barkley in particular, huge ownership. But us veterans, we really haven't been looking at them. Only a few of us have got them. So if they do well, we do badly. They do badly, we're in with a chance. So.
Yeah, and Igalo has been off the ball for a long time, although I'm slightly worried about this weekend at home to Bournemouth. I think he could be a factor there. But Barkley isn't going to be, because he's one of the players who will be missing for game week 30, and indeed he'll be missing this weekend and game week 30 rather. And we've got to talk about that because we've prepared our teams for this weekend with the two fixtures not being around, and we're pretty confident that we've got decent size for that. We've had time to prepare for that. But now it begins, doesn't it, for game week 30? And we've obviously got a lot of questions on this from the community, Jonty.
Well, yeah, I mean, Borders starts us off, so we'll come to Borders a bit later with his double game week planning, but he just asks us simply, how are our teams looking for game week 30? And I think that's quite a good indication of where the whole fantasy football scout community has been, because we were all expecting game week 30 to maybe have 5-6 players. We've got our Leicester players, Southampton players. Big surprise, Palace beating Spurs. Spurs out of the cup. Suddenly, all the Kane, Dele Alli, Ericsson, Toby A, as I call him, and also other Spurs defenders as well. I think, Andy, you've got Rose, I believe. So suddenly all these players are coming into play. So for me, I've suddenly got 9 players already. I've got 4 transfers left. 4 transfers.
So is that the 9 including your Arsenal players?
That's 9. No, that's not including Özil. I haven't included Özil.
Right,
so that's 9. But I am including Josh King in that, who's half a match tops at the moment.
Yeah, you'll be lucky to get 45 out of him.
So technically, I've got 8. So I've got 8 with 4 transfers. And as we'll come to later, suddenly people are starting to think, oh, well, I don't need to spend all of these 4 transfers on that. I can start doing some luxury transferring, and this is something that Prater asks: is Aguero out for Costa for 2 game weeks doable? Given we can easily field 11. So I'm a case in point here. I've got 4 transfers left. I could get Aguero out for Costa for 2 game weeks. He's certainly going to score more than Aguero this week because Aguero's not playing. And then he's got Norwich. He's actually captain material that week. Aguero's got Liverpool. So that's not could go anywhere. And then Aguero back again, because then he's got Villa at home. So there's 2 transfers. I've still got my 9 players because I've got Aguero back in, so he's in my 9. then just 2 more transfers there, back up to 11 for game week 30.
But you're walking a tightrope there with injuries, aren't you? That's the thing. You just don't know, and if you commit to that, then you've tied up one. You've definitely tied up one transfer, because you'll want Aguero back for that Villa game. There's no doubt. Andy, how are you doing at the moment? How many players are you going to have for 30 as it stands?
So I've already worked out, because I've got 2 transfers this week, so I will come on to what I've made later, but including that one that I'm definitely going to do, I've only got 4 players that are going to blank. But I do have Stanislas as my 5th mid, so I would probably need to make a change somewhere there.
Yeah.
I'm looking pretty good, to be honest, right now.
Yeah. I've got 8 players, and then 10 including my 2 Arsenal players. I mean, it's not a given they're going to get past Hull, because of the schedule that Arsenal got is punishing. But having said that, it looks like the second leg at Barca could be academic. I don't know. It's a tough one. How to use transfers? Because I'm looking at it this week, and it looks like I'm going to have a spare transfer, because I've got the same as you, John T. I've got 2 this week, so I've got 4 in total. So I could be okay. And I'm looking at maybe doing Ayew out, because I do want to get Arnautovic. But then that Ayew's a player who's going to play game week 30, and that seems like a sideways move. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. So. Yeah, it is tempting, isn't it? Because game week 30, we expected complete decimation, and it hasn't happened. And it actually looks okay, because of, like you say, Spurs. Most of us have got 2, if not 3 players from Spurs. We certainly have. Most have got 3 Leicester players already. So that's already the core of that game week 30 team there, between just Leicester and Spurs. And you've got to think that they're going to score pretty well in that game week. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one now, because we expected to be scratching around to try and get 11 out, but it's probably not going to be the case for people, is it?
No, and also, I mean, it's something that Marco raises as well. So this is something that I'm considering. I'm sure other people are as well, about the Aguero Costa move. Is do we stick with a cheap, or do we go for an expensive 5th midfielder? So something Andy was talking about. He's got Stanislas, so he's not guaranteed game time, which is classic benchable 5th mid. Mark, you haven't got a cheap mid. You've got kind of a benching issues each week, and I've got girl Josh King. So for me, I actually like having someone I can bench, but can we afford to with all these blanks? Well, perhaps now we could. So that's my thinking about why I'm considering. Not going to do necessarily, but considering the Aguero move, because I get Costa in, and I can keep benching Josh King. But if I get rid of Josh King for, say, Eriksen, I could do Eriksen or Arnautovic, or a player that's got a great fixture this week, and then next week I've got a massive benching headache. I could be looking at benching Dele Alli or Payet next week, and I don't want to be doing that. But I would have no alternative, because my front 8 would be so strong. So in a way, I don't want my team to be that good. I want it to be a little bit bad. So yeah. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, personally, I still look to that 5th mid as being, I've said this previously, that I still think that's the best source of a differential, other than the back 4 or back 3 rather. You get defenders in, and that's worked well for you with Van Dijk, for example. I think there's still mileage there, so I'm looking at my defence and thinking, well, yeah, Moreno got me the clean sheet so this week, but really he's the one that I want to get rid of. Moreno, by the way, Liverpool scoring 6 in that game at Villa, and Moreno was one of only 2 outfield players who didn't get any points from that. So yeah, I saw very well celebrating the clean sheet from him, but somehow didn't get an assist or goal out of that game. So he's on the top. He's teetering. So he may be the one to go, but at the same time, I'm kind of still tempted by what Marco raises, and that maybe spending a bit on that 5th midfielder could be the key. Because yeah, I'm tempted by Arnautovic, because I think he's got such outstanding fixtures coming up. He's got Villa and Newcastle at home next, and he's got that home game with Southampton in game week 30, which isn't amazing, but it's those next 2 that I'm looking at and going, well, if I hold on to Ayew, who's got Tottenham and Arsenal next to, what am I going to get from him? I mean, I'm not getting much from him, and he's got Sunderland at home, let alone Spurs and Arsenal away. So that's the move I'm looking at. But I know what you're saying. It does give me that benching problem every week if I keep persisting with that 7 million, or in the region of 7 million for my 5th mid. But I kind of like it. I kind of like having that one decision to make, because I've seen, as I've said in previous weeks, I think the Aguero almost took some of the skill out of it, because it meant that your 11 was almost decided and your captain was always decided. So I quite like having that 5th mid problem to give me something to think about, basically.
Yeah. I've come up. Actually, during the day, I came up with a kind of solution. Because what I was looking for was a fifth midfielder who I wanted to play this week, but don't want to play next week. So that's easy. I can just bench him, and then is actually quite good, and they play game week 30. I think I found the player actually. Is Gylfi Sigurdsson. So you think Spurs is a bad game, but Spurs are actually on a bit of a dodgy little run at the moment. Very, very hectic schedule. Swansea go and meet them just at the right time. Sigurdsson, of course, essentially bought and then dumped by Spurs, and in this fixture last year, he scored against them. In fact, he was one of the key players. Swansea lost, as we've said before in fantasy football. I don't care whether Swansea win or lose; just care about which players score. And I quite fancy Sigurdsson to get something out of that Spurs game. I don't actually think he'll get much out of the Arsenal game. And then his fixtures, well, my good lord, they just go absolutely crazy. So this is why you probably would keep Ayew, because you've got Norwich at home, Bournemouth away, Aston Villa at home, Stoke away. You got this suddenly you've got this amazing plan. And I think come game week 29, when Swansea's fixtures really shift to the darkest blue you can find on our ticker, I think lots of people are going to want Sigurdsson, but I'll already be there, so I better make another move. So I don't know. That's my kind of thinking there. It seems.
Yeah, I mean, a few weeks ago, Ayew versus Sigurdsson was quite close. Ayew had those 2 double-figure returns, which I missed one and got the other. But I think he's got 5 goals in 7, Sigurdsson. You can't argue with that. And he's on pens, and his free kicks are pretty potent. So you can't argue with Sigurdsson over Ayew at the moment, and yeah, I mean, admittedly that's an option I'm looking at as well. Again, a sideways move that it feels to go Ayew to Sigurdsson or even Ayew to Arnautovic. So I don't know. Andy, you said you've already got your move planned ahead of game week 30. So that's your transfer this week, I take it. Is that a fifth mid or is it at the back?
Well, I've got 2 transfers. One of them is going to be Lukaku to Vardy, which I think is pretty popular, and then. Yeah, the other one I'm still not too sure about, because the problem is I already have Ali and Mahrez, and I can't upgrade Stanislas to anyone more than 5.3. So I'm kind of stuck because of the way I've got my team laid out. If it was like I've got a lot of money in defence, I've still got Smalling, for example. If I was in kind of your positions where it's you can just do that extra move to get the fifth mid, that's what I would go for. I think. I think that's where you're going to get your points from, and hopefully be ahead of the curve for people that aren't quite ready.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. More questions on game week 30, Jonty?
Well, it's just Jarvis just kind of sums it up really. He says, "Are we disappointed by the lack of game week 30 chaos?" And I guess in a way we are, because we were set up. The community was set up really to prepare for this. We were all prepared for Palace for Spurs to knock Palace out. And that didn't happen. So in a way, the people who aren't paying such close attention to it have kind of had a bit of a lucky escape there. I looked at some of my rivals in some of my mini leagues they would have been in serious dire straits, and now they're not. So but we've got the Arsenals to come to. So
I know. I think a few weeks ago we were saying this could be the turning point, because we expected most teams to be left with 4 or 5 players, and it's not. We're left with 8 or 9 players, and I think we'll be all right as a result of that. I still think there's a lot of planning and strategic thinking to be done between now and the double game weeks. We'll touch on them in a minute. That you think that, well, if you put in that effort, you should come out of this with some points to show for it and actually get an advantage. But yeah, game week 30 at the moment, nowhere near as bad as we thought. I think if Arsenal comes out of there, then it does shift a little. I mean, for me, I've got 2 Arsenal players, so I'll be down to 8 players then, and I'm going to need my transfers at that point. And the trouble is with that, we're not going to know until that very week. They look likely to play their replay on March the 8th. That's where the talk is, and 4 days later they'll play in the quarter-final, and so we won't know whether the West Brom Arsenal game is out until the very last minute, possibly. So that might hurt a few more people, but I don't know. Yeah, I think really it's been an escape for a lot of people, and for us it maybe is a bit of a disappointment. But now I guess our planning or our effort has to be making sure we get through game week 30 and then preparing as best we can for double game weeks. And there's lots of theories on when these are going to arrive, but actually the windows for them are pretty small, aren't they?
It's the consensus is they're going to be game weeks 34 and then 37, because this is also taking into account that there'll be blanks for the FA Cup semi-finals as well. That's when it's widely believed that those weeks are going to. And we've already had we've worked some blanks this week. Game week 30's got not as many, but quite a few blanks. So it's looking like there's going to be quite a bit of action there. So we've had loads of questions about this. So I just run through the names of them: Escucci, Mike Harborough, Zero, Aaron Green Windmill as well. I mean, they're all basically asking the same questions: is how we manage that, how we kind of get a bit of early planning in, and this is based on hopefully people have still got their wild card intact. So, and also your bench boost chip and your triple captain chip. So you've got loads of things to think about. You've got these 2 weeks with a whole bunch of double fixtures. You've got a triple captain chip. So when do you play that? Which one? And then you've got a bench boost, and then you've got a wild card, which you can't use in the same week as one of these other chips. You can the week before. So then you've got a plan to use that the week before. So one of our regulars, Balders, came up with a hot topic. Now, I just urge people to look on our hot topic section.
Yeah, we can't dissect it in full.
It's very complicated, but essentially he's come up with 2 very common options. Option 1, quite simple. You wild card in game week 33 when you know who's playing twice in game week 34 and just absolutely load up with them. But you also have a view on Liverpool players as well. So Liverpool will probably have a double then, but Liverpool will probably have a double coming up the following, because they missed game week 30 and game week 27. So you're with me so far, and then so they're going to have 2. So it's a bit of early planning for the next.
Isn't it the same for Everton as well? Because they've also got that.
And for Everton as well. So he's just given that scenario as well. So you're looking at Liverpool, Everton players as well as completely. So then you use that, and so if you completely maxed out there, it's up to you. If you feel that one of those captains is say an Aguero type figure or someone who's going to get serious returns, 2 matches, you use your triple captain, or then you use your bench boost. But that's really going to be up to people. The other one, obviously, fairly straightforward as well. You use your wild card in game week 36 to prepare for game week 37. But that, he points out, is actually that's the serious, hardcore fantasy manager course. That's the extended course that you would do in fantasy management, because that involves really planning for game week 34, a game week 34 double that we know nothing about, that hasn't been confirmed. It means planning for that pretty much now, because we're already planning for game week 30. So we need to have game week 34 in place, and then we go to town on game week 36, 37. So you can see it's really tricky.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the wild card is there for this very purpose, isn't it? And those who have saved that second wild card have that option of preparing their team for a double game week, and that I imagine the majority was going to go with that, and then they're going to play one of their remaining chips after that. And we've spoke before how some of the top 10k are where they are because they've spent a lot of their chips. Maybe they've spent their 2 wild cards, maybe bench boost has gone or triple C has gone. So we do see this as a possible chance to make up some grounds if we get it right. I think the popular combination will be wildcard 33, and then it's a question of do you go bench boost or triple C in 34, and then you carry the other one over to 37, don't you? And try and I think loading up on Liverpool and Everton for 34 will give you a head start on 37, won't it? So that's how we want it to work out. We're at the mercy of the fixture computer, aren't we? We're waiting to see what the Premier League throw us. That's the problem. Andy, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, wildcards and sorry, not wildcards, double game weeks in general. I love them, so I'll be looking to do whichever I can get the most players in. So if I can use bench boost with 15 double game week players, then I'm all in for that.
I mean, that's going to be extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember last year the second. So I always use my wild card early. So last year I didn't have it at this time, and it was a Leicester and Hull double, I think, and even Hull players were scoring really well. So that's what we've all got in our head, that the same's going to happen. I mean, we talk about double game weeks as soon as the season starts. So yeah, I'm all in. Probably game week 33, I think, for me. But obviously we have to wait and see what fixtures are. And I think the other thing will obviously depend on the captain option. So if Aguero has a really good double in 34, for example, and you think maybe he's going to do well, then that might be a triple captain. So yeah, a lot of waiting to do, but yeah, can't wait.
Well, I mean, Aguero's got Chelsea away as his first fixture in 34, so that's going to be interesting, isn't it, where you put that? I mean, that's why I think bench boots could be the one for 34 and Triple C maybe for 37. I mean, I need to look at the fixtures, but straight away Liverpool at home to Watford in 37, Everton at Leicester, so maybe not. I mean, so maybe Firmino is. I mean, are we going to? I mean, this could see some unlikely heroes emerge, couldn't it, at the end of the season, Jonty?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've seen it before with double game weeks. I mean, I think Ndoye last year for Hull, I got in just as, I had another transfer, Hull were having a double. I didn't captain him, I can't remember who I captained, but one of the standard players. I had Ndoye, and Ndoye ended up being my highest score, a huge score he got. And we've had these before, and of course, in fantasy folklore sits Lord Clint of Dempsey, who is probably the greatest double game week player. Not that he knows that he's a great double game week player, greatest double game player of all time. I mean, huge scores, and that's the kind of player I think I'd be looking at. It's the best player in a team that's not very good.
We also saw Sessegnon. Remember Sessegnon with that late goal crashing the site because the reaction to it was just pure elation because we thought everyone backed him. Again, he was that strong option in a weak side. And I think he got a late goal, and everyone just went crazy for it. And yeah, I mean, it's folklore, isn't it? It's fancy football folklore, these double game weeks.
I mean, one player. I mean, I've just seen that he's got Chelsea in game week 37. But a player I'd be looking at, a type of player, is Sunderland's Khazri, who is clearly the best player in Sunderland's team, and he's just the kind of player that's going to get a couple of good set of scores. He does have a tricky game week 37. So if for some reason, I don't know if this will work out, whether he actually has a double game week 34, it's possible. He's got Norwich away, so that's pretty good. So he's that type of player. Great player, not such a great team. So obviously someone like Payet actually would be a really good. I mean, no offence to West Ham, but Payet is in a completely different league to the rest of the West Ham squad. That's the kind of player I'd be looking at.
Well, it's interesting with Aguero, isn't it? Because you look at the fixtures he's got in 34 and 37. He's got, so depending on where his double game week's going to drop, he's got Chelsea away in 34 and Arsenal at home in 37. So actually, we all thought, well, the Triple C is just made for Aguero. Maybe not, because I think in either of those two, if the City's double arrives there, you might have to think twice, because Chelsea and Arsenal defences aren't necessarily the most obliging. There might be better options, and it's what we're seeing at the moment with Aguero, isn't it? It's like suddenly he was the bee's knees and everyone had to have him. And now there's this talk of, well, is he dispensable for a couple of weeks, or isn't even beyond that? And when it starts looking at double game weeks, you think, well, we're going to look at beyond Aguero for double game weeks. That is quite surprising. But actually, the way City are playing at the moment, and the fact that they missed De Bruyne and Silva's still not in the groove, and maybe the Pellegrini announcement has taken the wind out of their sails, and maybe by 34 or 37 the title's going to be out of reach. We just don't know. But there's so many factors at play here that could suddenly change our thinking from being, well, this Triple C's on Aguero in a double game week, it's done and dusted. It might not happen that way, and I think it may well fall on other players like Firmino and even Lukaku again. And we may have to take a risk on one of those rather than go with Aguero. Andy, you captained Aguero this week. Jonty's talking of even getting rid of him in the short term. What's your feeling about this, Andy, with Aguero? Are you beginning to get worried about it as well? Are you looking at getting rid at some point?
I'm not really considering. I mean, the main person that people seem to be getting rid for is Costa. And Costa has Southampton away, and we're all bigging up Southampton's defence. So I'm not quite sure the next fixture is great. Obviously, after that, it's Norwich, I think. So, yeah, that's a decent one. I won't be getting rid of him. I just don't want to use two transfers because I will want him back, guaranteed. Yeah. If he gets injured, then, obviously it would be a mistake to have kept him. But I can't tell if that's going to happen or not. So yeah, for me, he stays. And triple captain wise, I don't remember a double game week where I've ever had the opportunity to captain Aguero. He's always been injured or something. So I don't know how I can resist. It's just even if he's got a tough fixture, I just don't know. Yeah,
much depends on where the title race is at that point, I think. And you got to think by 34 it'll still be alive and it'll be a factor. So it's whether you back him at Chelsea to get an link or. It's really tricky. I think if City have got a win, then yeah, maybe it's fine. But it's just at the moment, there's not a lot of confidence in that team, it seems. Okay, we've got more questions. I mean, this harks back to game week 30, doesn't it? This is about the stocking up on Spurs and stocking up on Stoke, Jonty.
Yeah, so Red Lightning asks about Spurs. Which are the 3 best Spurs players? So we're all assuming that we're all going to want 3, but Kane, Ericsson, Ali, and Toby A are the ones he puts forward, and the Sergeant is just simply looking at best Spurs defender. So I've had a look at some of the stats. Big chances I've gone for here. That's usually a pretty good indicator of scoring. Harry Kane, as you can imagine, is top there. So yes, Harry Kane, get him. If you want a Spurs player, if you haven't got him, get him. Dele Alli, just a couple of big chances over the last 4 game weeks. So Harry Kane's got 6. And it's pointed out to say this, Dele Alli is just one of these players. He's slightly hot and cold, really. He's actually really good, quite good away, not so great at home. So he kind of defies what you kind of expect him to do. And then there's Ericsson, and Ericsson's stats just go off the chart. I mean, he's up there with Özil in terms of chance creation. 21 over the last 4 game weeks. He takes 24 corners, 31 crosses. I mean, these are the kind of great stats because these are so many attempts to get goals and assists here, and he's also getting lots of shots on target as well. He's second only among Spurs players to Harry Kane here. So, yeah, he's another great option. But I mean, for me personally, I don't know. This is probably my veteranness coming in to play here. Spurs have let me down and have been inconsistent over the last 8 or so seasons I've been playing fantasy, and I think just having 3 Spurs attackers just gives me the chills.
Yeah, I mean,
so personally, I think perhaps mixing it up a bit and getting a defender. But I know Andy's quite interested because you've got Rose, so it's not a player that many have, but he can get the points occasionally if he can play.
You've got to worry about rotation, haven't you, Andy, with Rose, haven't you? That's the thing. It's like he has got that fixture in game week 30. We don't know for sure he's going to be in that game, do we?
No, I think people have been working it out, and if the rotation continues, he's actually not that bad to own right now, but there's always that chance that he'll play an extra game or he'll get rested for an extra game, so I wouldn't recommend bringing him in if you've got him. I think Alderweireld's the defender to get if you only want one. But yeah, Rose, when he does play, he's very, very attacking. Like, it always seems to do very little defending. So yeah, he's usually in the points when he plays. It's just that's the problem.
I think you've got to go Toby and then Ali and Kane. I think it's a little bit dull though, isn't it? That's the trouble. But the thing is with Ali, I mean, I like Everton as a player, absolutely fantastic player, and his stats are incredibly strong. They're always strong though, but he's one of those players that hint at huge returns and just simmers below that heavy hitter bracket, doesn't he, Ericsson?
I do think Ericsson's gone a bit under the radar though recently. He's been doing, chipping in with an assist here and there, a few bonus. Spurs defence has been pretty good, but if you want a differential, maybe 3 attackers is the way to go, because as much as we don't like to mention the word coverage, in midfield right now, I don't think there's too many players that you need for all 4 spots, so you've got that extra spot, so why not go 3 attackers? I think it could pay off. Spurs are doing well, they're right up there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing is with Ali as well, he just seems to be a good fancy footballer in that somehow he can come on for 10 minutes and get an assist. It's just... there's something about the way he plays and the positions he gets in that can deliver points in a small amount of time, whereas you feel that sometimes a player like Ericsson can go 3 or 4 games where he's just producing fantastic numbers but doesn't deliver an end product in terms of assists or goals, whereas Ali's just got this knack this season that I think you've got to have him. And yeah, it's a straight decision between Toby and Ericsson for me. I'm already sitting on my 3 Spurs players, so I'm locked in. I'm not going to change that. I committed to Ali when I got Aguero in. He was an enabler for me. I've had Toby for a long time, but and he's been a bit infuriating, really. He should have got me more points, but I think there's more to come. I do think he'll get one this week. I think Swansea, they'll keep a clean sheet, so I'm locking him in. Joe, you've got the option of Ericsson though, haven't you, Jonty? So yeah. You've got to be tempted just for a differential.
I'm tempted. It's just that tripling up aspect, and the other actually, it's coming back to the 5th midfielder is. Who do I bench in game 29? If they're all fit, I might even have to bench Ericsson. It's ridiculous. He's away to West Ham that week, and I don't know who to bench. It'd just be crazy. So I could end up losing points, or I could get get those points of whoever it was I was about to bench and avoid that. I mean, that's the main thing for me. But no, I mean, you can't argue with Eriksen. I mean, I think there is. I mean, if you wanted to mix it up and be a bit different, and you haven't got Kane, but you have got Ali, get Ali and Eriksen. Because if you look at the last 4 game weeks, so Harry Kane's got 4 goals, Dele Alli's got 2 assists, and Eriksen's got 2 assists. So if you've got Dele Alli and Eriksen, who are both getting goals as well, I mean, they've got 3 goals between them, plus they've got 4 assists. That's actually a better bizarrely, that's a better combination. Actually, it's starting
and then you look at and then you can look at maybe something different in the short term, maybe Costa in the short term, and then look at game week 30 and get a striker in when most people are kind of locked in on Vardy and Kane, aren't they? So yeah, I mean, there's routes to go down, but I just think for me, I'm going to stick with what I got, and those 3, Toby, Ali, and Kane, look to be the way to go. But there's potential there. There's potential there with differentials of Eriksen as well. There's no doubt about it. Stoke City. Now this is a team that have just been pretty dreadful of late until they got that result at Bournemouth. But we're looking to them because of not only game week 30, but these next 2. Aston Villa and Newcastle at home. It's hard to describe better home fixtures, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, backup dancer, he asks which Stoke attacker to get for these 2 fixtures that you just described, Villa and Newcastle. And Sess asks, how can we best utilise Stoke's awesome 2 fixtures, he calls them. Was a player you, Mark, mentioned, Arnautovic, is the one to get. I mean, I've had a look at the stats over all matches. Now, I haven't included recent ones because he hasn't been playing a bit. He's had a bit of flu. Also, there's just been the hint of rotation. There's been a lot of options in attack. So we've always seen Bojan lose his place. But nevertheless, over all matches, he's absolutely chopped for big chances. He's created 12 there. Second, though, my friend Jonathan Walters, who I like a lot, is a good differential. But Arnautovic, chances created 36 as well. He scored 7 goals, so that's pretty good for his price as well. It's hard to argue against him. My only fear is, I've mentioned it before, is rotation. Also, Stoke are doing what they do in recent years. Very good, comfortably mid-table. Could possibly get into Europe, possibly not. But they're looking at that. It starts to get those kind of teams about this time of the season. They start to get a bit lackluster. They haven't got much to play for. They're not really pulling it out. And I think we've already seen that with Stoke. Short cost could help. He's been pretty good, and Mbula has been very good for their midfield, especially defensively. So he's kind of got a balance, like we've seen with Shelvey at Newcastle. Whilst not a great fantasy option, he's bringing a bit of balance there. So I don't know. For me, there's too many unknowns about Stoke at the moment. They've all just been on a big holiday to Dubai, I read, this week. So
as you would if you played Stoke.
All bronzed and refreshed and with their chucking their sombreros off. I don't know, they don't have sombreros in Dubai, but anyway, doing that, and coming on and being completely changed sides. So, but I don't know. Yeah,
I can just see Ryan Shawcross in his Union Jack shorts on the beach in Dubai. Actually, I can just see that. I don't know. I just don't think there's much potential here. Arnautovic is the one that I'm looking at, but you're so right about game week 28 in that if I get Arnautovic in, I'm going to give myself a major selection headache on Saturday morning on that game week, because I'll be looking at my midfield and going Payet, Ozil, Mahrez, Ali, or Arnautovic. I've got to pick 4 of those, and Arnautovic will be at home to Newcastle. And do I not play Ali at West Ham? Well, maybe he'd be the one, but that would be a huge risk if he's away form. So. Yeah, I mean, it would give me a nightmare, but that is an option for me. I'm looking at that, but that does put me off. It absolutely does. But for me, it's an Arnautovic or nobody there. I think Walters is insecure. Boyan, we've seen lose his place. Shaqiri, nowhere near consistent enough. A defender could be an option, but we've all got Butland, or most have held on to him. So do you want to double on that Stoke defence? I don't know, the fixture they got is a home to Southampton. Yeah, I don't think it's wise to go crazy. If you've got a midfield where you can play Arnautovic for the next 2 game weeks, then he's the way to go, absolutely. But if you've got the situation that we're in, where that would force us to make an uncomfortable decision ahead of game week 28, then yeah, it's a more difficult situation, I believe, isn't it? Okay, Luscious Lizards has a question, is it? On Man City?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we've talked about how rubbish Aguero is. But let's talk about how rubbish their midfield is. He's asked, are there any Man City mids worth considering? Now, the reason we are is obviously they're not playing game week 27, but they do play game week 30. So suddenly we have some options there, game week 30. So I've had a look at some of their, where they stack up over the last 6 game weeks with other midfielders. And there's only one name there over the last 6 game weeks in terms of big chances, in terms of shots in the box, and that's Silva. So if you're going to consider one with De Bruyne out, it's got to be Silva. I can't think there isn't another one, basically.
No,
I probably wouldn't even consider Silva myself.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it at the moment. I fear the impact that decision to announce Pellegrini's departure has had. I fear that defeat to Leicester and the fact that that's not the wind out of them. There's now a gap there, and Arsenal are the ones really challenging, and City missed this week, so they're going to fall further behind. Then it's Liverpool away, which is a tough game. That could go either way. I mean, Klopp's side are just so inconsistent. They beat City at the Etihad, so they've got every chance of beating them at Anfield. So yeah, I think stay away. I mean, as I said earlier, I'm even worried about Aguero. I mean, Andy, you're in a position where you could possibly take a few risks. You've got Sanchez sitting there in your midfield, who has, looks an incredible differential for you. Just isn't happening. He hasn't scored tonight against Barcelona. I think he's only got a couple of goals in 15 appearances now. It's been a barren run for him. But there isn't alternatives, are there? Because I mean, you'd love City to give you a David Silva option, but it's just not there, is it?
Yeah, I mean, the alternative really for me is Ozil. Just go straight swap back. Yeah, I mean, I've seen City play recently a few times, and they're just not looking very good. Silva seems very hot and cold. I don't know if I trust him. He's just not the player he was, at least fantasy-wise, last year, where he just seemed to be banging goals in for fun. I mean, Yaya Toure, from what I've read, has not a good relationship with Guardiola, I don't think. So what's he playing for right now? It's just, like you said, it's just who's the option there? We need De Bruyne back, basically, and that's just not happening. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be looking towards a City mid, personally. I don't think.
Steer clear, I think. Totally steer clear. Let's look to game week 27 then, shall we, Jonty? And look at the fixtures. We'll pick out the clean sheets first. Do you want to go first there?
Well,
I think there's loads. What's the matter with you?
I mean, that's what I mean. Oh, as in which one?
Oh, right, okay.
I'm going to pick Leicester against Norwich. There we go. I think Leicester, well, obviously Leicester have got great home form, great defence in recent weeks. Norwich are absolutely appalling. They are a championship side in waiting. Bring on the clean sheet for our Leicester defenders.
A little bit harsh on Norwich. I think they've got a little bit of fight left in them. But our friend Christian Fuchs, I've said it, there you go. We both got him, haven't we? And so we've got to fancy our chances of cleaning out of that one, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Andy, do you want to have a go? There's plenty to pick from, isn't there, really?
Yeah, I'll take Stoke. Aston Villa just awful. Hopefully Shawcross will be back just to shore it up even more. I think Villa just can't do anything right now. They're down and out, aren't they? Oh,
I mean that Villa performance against Liverpool was just unbelievable. I just could not believe what I was seeing, and it could have been more. And even Stoke side, who have had indifferent form, they obviously come into that off the back of the Bournemouth win. But that's why I was looking at an outfit. So I was thinking, well, feasibly they could get 3 or 4 goals as well, Stoke, against this Villa side. I'd like to think Villa will respond and they'll put up a fight and we'll see a close game at the Britannia, but I don't know whether Villa have got a goal in them. I just don't see it.
Their first team lost to the under-21s this week. They had a match behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I'd almost back Norwich against Villa at this point. Everyone.
It's cruel, isn't it? It's almost like you want to go, okay, throw in the towel, let them end the season now, just stick them in the Championship next season.
Pretty much.
Let them not bother playing the remaining matches because they're actually whipping boys in waiting. And from a fantasy point of view, we're looking at their fixture every week and going, well, who's playing them this week? Right, okay. That is the case. And maybe it's a good thing from a fantasy perspective, but I don't know, it's going to get a little cruel if they keep on playing like they did against Liverpool. I'll look at what's left, and there is plenty. I mean, ironically, we're 2 fixtures down, but there just seems to be clean sheets everywhere in this game week. Maybe we've got it wrong, but I look at West Brom Palace, and I think, where's the goals in that game? These are 2 sides who just do not have settled strike forces, don't have a goal threat even when they do have. Berahino, if he plays, I guess, could pose a threat. Adebayor is huffing and puffing for Palace, and they're getting goals from right back and centre backs, aren't they, at the moment? And Zaha seems to be their biggest threat. Bolassi's back, maybe that'll mean a goal, but I think either West Brom or Palace are an option there. And I also look at Watford and Bournemouth and think, well, Watford have been fairly tight. They've conceded 6 in 6, but I think they've got a good. They kept a clean sheet last time out at home, so I think there's an option there. And then finally, Spurs, Swansea. I know you've said about Sigurdsson, and I know he might have the voodoo sign over them, and I think he's a good option. But I still got to back Toby in the Spurs defence there. I think they'll get over that cup defeat, and I think they'll run out 1 or 2-0 winners there. So yeah, just clean sheets everywhere. But maybe not. Maybe there's goal fests. Let's see. Let's move to Fancy Island Risk. We've got to find some players, some differentials. Have you got a name there, Jonty?
I have. I've got Matt Ritchie at Bournemouth.
Right. So you're not backing a clean sheet for Watford then?
I'm not backing a clean sheet. I think Bournemouth looking good for goals at the moment. Lots of options. Matt Ritchie's doing pretty well. Now, my goals imminent table, I've rolled it all out, and there he is, 13 goal attempts in the last 4, with already a goal, and he's had shots inside the box, so half of those are within in the box as well. I think I picked him because he's a bit unusual because he kind of goes against the fixture as well. But Watford Bournemouth is it's one of those games you don't know how it's going to go really. And I think that Matt Ritchie's looking good for something, a goal and assist, or just an assist, something.
Strangely though, he's been in and out of the team, hasn't he, at the moment? I mean, Eddie Howe's got options there with Stanislaus King, Turbe. There's just players in that position, and will Ritchie start? He probably will because he didn't, he didn't appear in the cup game, did he? So he was rested for that. So yeah, he should be an option for you. But yeah, he's been let's face it though, John T, he's been a disappointment, hasn't he? Because we built him up in the pre-season.
Well, he has, but I mean mainly because he did have this. He kind of had a partnership really with Wilson, and Wilson. So I mean, he could have, if Wilson hadn't got injured, he would have got, I think, much more assists as well. I think he was briefly on penalties even, but Daniels has got those now. Yeah, and also he's just got options. I mean, I've got Josh King there, but there's options up front. There's a Phobie, and then there's Stanislas, and then even Dan Gosling's getting in amongst the goals sometimes. He's just good. They're great fifth. I mean, there's Bournemouth. They should just be renamed AFC fifth midfielder.
Yeah, the source of the fifth mid, aren't they? They really are. But yeah, they definitely are. There's no doubt about that. Andy, you got your Fancy Island Risk there.
Yeah, so it's actually what we talked about earlier with Antonio potentially being the rival to Payet in our team. So I think I'm going to go Antonio, 2.3%. Sunderland haven't kept a clean sheet since game week 14, I think. So I don't see him keep him on this week. So yeah, he'd be my man.
I think West Ham are on fire. I saw that Blackburn game. Lanzini's back now, and Moses is pushing for starts. He got a goal, didn't he? Antonio right back because Byram was cup tied. But Byram will play presumably at home to Sunderland, which will give Antonio a chance to get forward again. But I just worry about the West Ham options. And the player I'm looking at for my risk is Emenike, because he got the goal. He got 2 goals at Blackburn. He hit the post, could have had a hat trick. I think he's going to start against Sunderland. You've got to start him after getting that. So I just think there's so much creativity in that West Ham team. Payet makes them tick, but they've got pace and power with Moses and Antonio. Lanzini there as well. Decent anchor midfielder in Noble who can also chip in with goals. West Ham are an exciting team, and I think they're going to end the season really strongly. So I'm going to go Emenike. I think Antonio remains a good pick while he's secure. But I worry about him long term. He's been so impressive. He don't deserve to lose his place, but I think there's going to have to be rotation because Bilic is just going to try some different things out. He's got such riches now that I think that he's going to shuffle the pack a bit. But yeah, Antonio at home to Sunderland looks a good option. I mean, that Sunderland defence, Big Sam hasn't quite sorted it out. I think there's going to be goals in that game. I think Defoe and I think Kasri as well, or Van Aanholt could be options too. I think lots of differentials in that game. I see 3 or 4 goals in that one. Okay, shall we talk about transfers and captains for the week ahead then? We'll start with you, John T. Captain first, I guess. I mean, having Lukaku cost us, didn't he? So we haven't got that option this week. Probably a good thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going into this game with 2 free transfers. I've already spent it. I spent that on Sunday last week. So that was Lukaku out for Vardy, and I immediately put the armband on him, and that's probably where it will stay.
Why did you go to transfer early? Were you just worried about the price rises, or?
Yeah, because they were both going completely opposite ways. So price rise and price fall the other way. It was just a no-brainer. I was on the bit I was in that bit of my ownership of Lukaku where another price drop, I would have felt that price drop rather than it being kind of in the middle. Yeah, and so I've already done that. I mean, you don't look at money too much, but I thought there was every possibility both of them even by could go minus 0.3 each way really. So it's a 0.6 pointer, as perhaps we should say.
Who was your other transfer then? You did 2 on Sunday.
So no, that was it. Just that one. So I made that one. So I have the other one to do, and we've already spoken about that today. I don't want to have a benching headache in game week 28. So I'm thinking of either Sigurdsson in for Josh King, and then I can easily bench him game week 28. Or Aguero out to Costa. That's a little bit more complex because I don't think Costa would get me much in this game week, but I think he possibly will in Norwich. But then I haven't got Aguero that week, and then I'm going to want Aguero back the next week. So if I then get an injury, it's finely tuned. A broken Achilles or metatarsal to Özil or someone, and then it's back to drawing board. So
I've spooked you out, haven't I? Of the whole suggestion of an injury and so on.
Well, no, I mean, it's just fairly. I mean, over the next 3 game weeks, will one of my players get injured? Well, there's every chance they will, and it's very finely tuned, the Aguero to Costa one. So I'll be kind of running the gauntlet there. So I kind of like Sigurdsson's a player I really wish I'd got a few weeks ago. He's a player. I mean, we had it in the watch list discussions a few weeks back. I kept saying Sigurdsson, get rid of that AU guy, get him out of that watch list, get Sigurdsson.
Yeah, but the thing is, IU kept cropping up. IU delivered me 2 double figures, so he just did enough, didn't he?
He did enough to kind of keep your interest, but Sigurdsson was the guy doing the business there, and I really wish I'd got him in. I didn't really have a space for him. I've got a space for him now. I can afford him. So yeah.
And the thing is, Sigurdsson a few seasons back was fantasy royalty, wasn't he? When he was at Swansea, you remember when Andy got him in really early on, and Sigurdsson just ran right, and suddenly he was absolutely essential. And 5 goals in 7, that is edging back to that kind of form. Well, it replicates that kind of form that we saw. It seems that he's secured his role, and he's obviously on set pieces, on penalties now, and that's got to be a factor. And yeah, absolutely, I think he's a good option. You've talked me into considering that even more strongly than I was before, with the words that you've gone through tonight. But for me, it's a sideways move to go IU and Sigurdsson. But enough of my transfer. Let's get on to Andy. What have you got planned? Transfer and captain, Andy.
Yeah, so very boring, but I've not been invited to one Jamie Vardy party all season, so
yeah, I'm
going to get him in for the first time. He'll definitely be my captain. I've just looked it up. Norwich have conceded 18 goals in the last 6. Just don't see how I can captain Vardy. I think most people will.
Yeah.
And I've got a second transfer. I don't know if I'm going to use it because to get a 5th midfielder in, I need to take a hit, and I don't think that's worth it when I won't want to play him after this week. So I might make a defensive transfer, maybe getting a Stoke defender, maybe. I'll probably roll it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, Vardy, I can't believe you haven't had him all season. That's incredible. I mean,
that's why I'm doing so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a fact because we had that team earlier in the season who hadn't made a change but captained Vardy every week and just rode through those 11 goals. Yeah, and you've been the opposite of that, hasn't you? You just didn't back him, and it has cost you, hasn't it? And there was a time where it looked like actually that might work out for you and Vardy was going to dip, but no. I mean, you've got to have him for this run, haven't you? So it's a no-brainer. For me, yeah, I mean, I'm doing Lukaku to Vardy, of course, and captain. Yeah, I mean, it has to be Vardy, I think. I mean, Mahrez no one's talked about Mahrez as the alternative, though, and I think that's got something to do with obviously Vardy on penalties. I think that's kind of booked Vardy in, hasn't it? Otherwise, had Mahrez still been on pens, that would be a definite option, and he could still outscore Vardy in that Norwich game. He could still be the better option. So that is the maverick move out of those two, if there is such a thing when you're discussing Mahrez and Vardy. Or Payet could be the captain option, but I just don't think I'm brave enough. I do think there's goals in that Sunderland game, but I think Vardy will come out with bigger profit. So Lukaku to Vardy is my transfer, and Vardy is my captain. I've still got a second transfer, and I don't know whether I'm going to use it. I've looked at IU, but Ayew to Arnautovic, but I don't want that headache that's going to come to me in game week 28. And if I'd leave Ayew in there, then I've got him for the fixtures from game week 29 onwards, which Jonty spoke about, which are incredibly strong. But that will mean that I've got to look at possibly playing Matt Targett maybe, or Ayew this week. So I've got to play Ayew at Spurs or Targett at home to Chelsea. I probably will favour. I'll probably give Ayew one last try, unless I do that Ayew to Sigurdsson sideways move. But that's going to come down to whether I can afford to waste that transfer. So many variables, but at the moment it looks like game week 30 hasn't had the impact that we wanted. And although there's a lot to think about, maybe there's still not enough to give us that edge. Do you see the veterans making up more ground or not, Jonty?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, because another key thing, you mentioned it earlier as well, is a lot of the top 10,000 have already used. They're there because they've used their triple captaincy, or they've used a bench boost. I mean, if you get that right, I mean, that could be worth an extra 30, 40 points. But if you get that right in a double game week, it could be on the absolute huge amount. So at the very least, we should be, for 2 game weeks, for the double game weeks, looking to bring that up again. I think as well with the blanks as well. I think game week 27 has caught some people off the hop. I think there are people that have relied on Aguero as well, and if the rest of their team's not that great, perhaps they haven't invested in Leicester or some of these other teams that got great fixtures. So I think we should be doing all right. I see no reason why all 3 of us shouldn't reach that top 100,000th barrier.
So the green arrow, not a thing of the past. Then we did one last week. I think we might have a few more to come. I hope so. I think the double game weeks are going to be momentous. That's what we're hoping, isn't it? We're hoping that with the chips, with the wild card, double game weeks, they're going to be huge events in our season. And I mean, the site is going to be crazy around that time when we start planning for that. And during those double game weeks, with the anticipation of the difference they're going to make, coupled with the chips, it's just going to be huge. We'll see, won't we? We were talking about at the start of the season about these chips and how they're going to come into play and whether they're going to improve things. And now we're getting to the crux of it, aren't we? When those double game weeks are announced and the planning starts and those chips come into play for a lot of us, for certainly the 3 of us and a lot of people on the site, I think, that is when we're going to see whether they're delivering that value that adds that twist that the Premier League wanted. Yeah, there's going to be some exciting times to come, which is a good thing, because at the moment we've been stagnating, but let's hope the double game weeks deliver. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us for the Scoutcast again. It's good to be back after the FA Cup break. We will, of course, be back next week as we continue our plans for game week 30 and the double game weeks. It's a good night from me, though.
Good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night, all.